Okay, so I did a lot of testing with off tracks, as you can see clearly. Those are my first 3 flyers, and then I just wanted to mess with off tracks. I still honestly don't know what constitutes an off track and what doesn't. It's so like this first sector, or this first section of the track is so wishy-washy on where and when it wants to give you off tracks. But that was a lot of testing done with that, just to see what I could get away with, and I think this is more a reasonable pace, and this is, hey, I've learned where I can push the track, and this is about track limits on this first sector. So we'll watch it. I do have a mess up, a couple really, but I'll explain those. I think if I were to have an optimal lap, it'd probably be a 2:05.4, 2:05.5, because I lost 2 tenths off of this lap in one corner, and I'll show it. But yeah, I think anything in the 2:06s is a good, comfortable, safe lap, not getting 1Xs, and anything close to this is going to be, hey, I'm pushing the limits. You're probably going to get off tracks. All right, let's go back. I'm braking usually at, there is a line. Let's see if we can go in slow-mo and see. It's usually, I think, around here. Yeah, when the grass peaks around right here. This point, when the grass comes out, it's usually when I'm applying brake. I'm trying to cut this as much as possible so I can go back to power. Ideally, you want to be as far right over here to open up this corner, just so you can carry more speed throughout. And you keep yourself from pushing wide. This this section right here. Let's see. So coming out of this turn, this next turn, and the next turn are really the worst offenders for off tracks. It's really where I spent most of my time just testing what I could get away with, and like I said, it still was wishy-washy. Like right here, you know, this is fine, but I think anything over this is a 1x. I would push out, you know, maybe a couple feet over, and it'd be an off track. Maybe if it's your tires are over the white line, I don't know. But it's just, I don't know. I was doing a lot of testing with it, just trying to see what I could get away with, and my assessment is literally make sure your left tires are on the track here, period. Don't try to push wide. Here I am cutting this corner very, very tight, because with the McLaren, it doesn't really like to rotate on this corner. So if I'm too far to the right of the track, when I go to make this corner, I have to cut so much speed in order to just get the rotation. So ideally in this car, you are cutting this turn as much as physically possible to open up this corner. Because even if you lifting here, it's not a front engine car. It's not going to help the car rotate. It really just goes back to a neutral state, which is understeery for the McLaren. So it's ideal for this car to really get this line correct in order to carry momentum out. This is another one that'll give you some troubles on off tracks. Not sure what the parameters are, but I feel like if you keep a tire on the track, you're fine. You can cut a little bit. This one's the weird one. This is not an off track. Some laps it was an off track. So I'm not really sure. Maybe it's because this back tire, if you watch, maybe it's because that back tire only hit this area, because I know you can touch some of that green. Maybe this left tire is the key. I'm not sure. There were times that I felt like I was doing this exact same line, and I get a 1x. It's probably going to be easier to take this turn with other cars that naturally rotate better, but with the McLaren, I think there's going to be some troubles through this complex. But yeah, let's continue. I'll brake at the second to last cone here, just to get the car slowed. I'm going to hug the inside here to open up this turn. I'm down to second just to get a higher RPM, better drive out of that corner. Carry speed all the way down and through. This is the turn that I messed up at. I broke too deep. I ideally want to be hugging this, because like you can see when I went back to power, look at my wheel input when I go back to power, because I have to, in order to carry speed, I have to get back to power, but I'm all the way on this side of the track with no traction. There's some banking here which will help the car rotate, but the banking comes up and then kind of levels out here. So I'm really having to turn that wheel to get back to power. Just full throttle all the way through here. I'm going to hold fifth as long as I can. I don't want to go to 6 too soon and drop RPMs. You will lose speed. This turn, I'm braking in between where the bricks, these little brick pavers start, and the 100. So probably right around this point is when I'm braking. I went a little too deep here. Ideally, I want to cut the green a little bit so I can open up this turn a little more. I went wide here, so it really ruined my approach to be out here and carry more speed, be able to get back to power sooner out of this corner. I think it was only like a 10th lost off the optimal at that point. So between those two corners, about maybe 3/10 off in optimal. So maybe a 2:05.4, 2:05.5 on a banger lap. Here you can cut this pretty good. The McLaren, since it is low torque, doesn't really seem to want to spin coming out of there. I don't know what the parameters are here for off tracks either, but the car is on track there, and on track there. So there is there's some time to be gained by cutting those for sure. I would cut as much as possible. I would just test with how much you can cut. The car's gonna bounce, but that's okay. I always pop up on this curb. Down to second for a quick stint, higher PM, back to third. Also, you don't want to push too wide here. What was it? I think, I'm not sure if you touch the green. I'm not sure if it's if you touch this or if this tire touches this. I know I got one 1X here one time, and I was like, that's odd. So yeah, just try not to push too wide there. And that is a 205.7. The brake bias was at negative 2.5. I was also testing with the brake bias while I was testing for off tracks. I would put it forward. I would put it rearward. And this technically would be the fourth flyer lap on these tires. Negative 2.5 seemed the most stable. It had the most pace. The car was compliant under braking. If I had the bias too far negative, I found the car on certain corners would just want to try to loop out on you. It does help with rotation, but there's a pro and con to it. Too much rotation is too much rotation. And anything below like a 2, like a 1.5, it was stable under braking, but it didn't really want to rotate as well. So I would say anywhere between the -2 to -2.5 to begin with, as the tires wear down, because it is a hot track. What is temperature here? It's 100 degrees. So as the tires start to wear out, you're going to have to lean on the rear tires a little bit more. So you'll have to move the bias maybe a little bit rearward to be able to get the car to brake and rotate. But that is a guide for the Nürburgring.